Greetings everyone, welcome to Chess Advanced. Today I'm going to show you one of my games, and it's a game played between me and a YouTuber and one of my mentors, which is Agadmator. So definitely this this game is going to be very interesting. A few years ago, about I think 6 or 7 years ago, when I started actually paying attention a little bit in chess, he was the first YouTuber that I found whose videos I absolutely loved as a beginner. So I consider him my mentor because he has taught me most of these games. At that time I was, I think, rated some 2000, and I have improved now to 2450. So I'm very grateful for his videos, and it's like a student playing against his master. So definitely this game is going to be very much interesting. So without further ado, let's start with this game. I go for d4, he goes for knight to f6, c4, and just c5. And here we have knight to f3, but just c captures, knight to c6. I don't have to trade these knights early on, so here I just go with the knight back. And we have e6, but here just knight to c3. We have an early d5, just going for that in the center. C captures, e captures, and here just g3. Just going for an English opening symmetrical variation. And we have d4, immediately just going for pushing those pawns. And he is definitely playing aggressively, he wants to win. Knight to b1, but here just bishop to b4 check. We have bishop to d2 castles, but just here bishop to g2. We have bishop to g4, and you could play a lot of moves in this position, because here you could go for this you could actually go for this bishop captures. And here sorry, not here, after castles you could go for this bishop caps on b4. And here after knight captures a3, knight has to go back. And here after a move like knight b2, queen to d7 and castles, you could have rook a d8. And after rook to e1, rook to f8, and after queen to a4, you could go for this h5, and black will be absolutely fine here. I'm going to develop the rook and most likely get the knight to maybe a nice square, and slowly but surely both players are going to improve. And black is a little bit better, but it's absolutely fine. But here after bishop to g4, I just simply castles, and he goes for bishop caps on f3. He eliminates the bishop pair. And here after bishop captures, rook to c8, but just a3, pushing the bishop back. So he captures, knight captures, and he goes for a very nice knight to e5, trying to ruin my pawn structure, because if he's able to get that in, this isolated big pawn is going to be now a pass pawn. And pass pawn, and it's going to be a very strong pass pawn. So I have to be careful. I go for bishop to g2. The best was just capturing this, but then the rook comes, then you move the bishop back, and then you give an open file to the rook. I didn't want to do all of that, so I just didn't go for that. And here just an immediate d3 would have helped him a lot, I think, because this is an isolated pass pawn. Sooner or later I'm going to get the knight out of the way, maybe just double up rooks on this line, and it's going to be very much difficult to even defend this pawn. So it's better you to give it away like this, because here after bishop captures, now you go for rook to b8, bishop to a6, and after d captures, you'll have something like queen captures on e2. But here after rook captures, queen captures on e5, rook captures on d2, you get this rook to a1. And after h5, most likely it's going to be a draw, but this is still would have been better in this position. But here after bishop to g2, he goes for queen to d6. And this is obviously always better, because it comes with the tempo. So he chose queen to d6. It's not a bad move or anything, but it's just not natural. It's just not natural development. So here after knight to f3, he plays knight captures, bishop captures, and rook f to d8. And I just go queen to b3. I just want to get the rook against the black queen, and I'll have a nice game. And here just b6 by him, not allowing me to capture that. So here I go for rook a to d1. He goes for h5. And here we have rook to d2, but now just going for this h4. And I was hoping that he would go something like something like this, so maybe try and checkmate me. But I just played this rook to e1. This rook to e1 is a mouse slip by me. I was hoping to go for rook to d1, but this just really sucked, because now I'm gonna lose a tempo play going this for the same move that I was going for. Here just h captures, but here just h captures by me. Rook to c5, and this rook to c5 is a good move, but it just gives white a bit too much. And why I always said that isolated pawns become a problem later in the position is because here I can actually go for e3, and e3 is the best move in this position, and that's exactly what I played. I played e3 because you cannot capture. This is going to be very much terrible. So here he goes for d3, but what you have to understand is I played rook e to d1, and what he was going for is maybe just trying to go here, or maybe later in the future when the bishop moves, trying to go for here, and maybe just get the queen here, try and go for checkmate. I guess that's what his idea was. But you have to understand that your rook is undefended. When you move the rook there out of there, it's going to be undefended. It's going to be very much difficult for you to do anything, because if you try to move anywhere along this file now, if this comes, your rook, you're gonna have to sacrifice your queen. Otherwise you just lose a rook, and you're just completely down the rook in a completely losing endgame. But instead, in this position, he goes for rook to g5, thinking that his position is completely winning. But unfortunately, it's the other way around. So I'm going to ask you to pause the video, try and find out the move which is absolutely visible here for everyone. But for those of you who are just for the show, I go for, against Agadmator, I go for rook captures on d3. And here in this position, he goes for rook captures on g3, thinking that maybe I'll be able to capture this, and queen captures, and he will be able to at least secure a draw. But he forgot one move that I have, which is this king to f1. And that's exactly what I played, because now he doesn't have any checks. His queen is under attack, his rook is under attack, and he's going to lose at least one. So he goes for queen captures, rook captures, and queen captures, and captures my bishop. So he has a rook and a knight for my queen. It's absolutely, I mean, no comparison. He's in a completely losing position. I play king to e2, rook to h3, queen to d8 check, king to h7, and now we are both very much down on the clock. He is much more down on the clock, because after he realized that rook captures completely loses, he went into a great thing. But there is no point. There was nothing he could have done to save the position. So I'm here actually just instead of going to the end game, because end game is just completely winning for me, but what I'm doing is just here trying to flag him, if anything else. So queen to c8, attacking the rook, but now just rook to h5, queen to b7, rook to d5, and queen caps on e7. So b5, queen to a5, rook to d6. I can just capture this, but I've just already pre-moved all the moves here. Queen to b4, rook to e6, and just queen to b3. And here in this position, just g6, but here just a4. King to g7, a captures, and he's very low on time. He's like some 5 or 4 seconds here. Knight to d5, and I'm like some 10 seconds. So a b6 just pushing that pawn, but here just knight captures, and we have queen to c3 check, king to g8, and just queen to d3, knight to c8, queen to d8 check, just connecting very nicely with the king. But here, unfortunately, I had already pre-moved pre-moved this check, but I mouse slipped, and I mouse slipped to here, and it was absolutely unfortunate. Here queen to d3, but just rook to d6. But with this rook to d6, he forgot that I can play queen to c3 and actually just connect very nicely here. And it was on this move, on just move 45, that Agadmator, Antonio Radic, he resigned the game, and I was able to get this spectacular victory in less than 50 moves, in 45 moves against Agadmator. So I was absolutely grateful to get a victory here. He was definitely playing very much aggressive, trying to get a win, and in that, sometimes you do miss out on these moves. So yeah, thank you all for watching. I'll be coming back with games like these, so stay tuned to the channel, subscribe to the channel, and I'll be seeing you guys very soon. Thank you all.